Everybody, hope you can hear me okay. I got my headset on today because I had a job interview. I'm not holding my breath, honestly. And, yeah, things aren't going so hot. Welfare's kind of dicking me around. I applied, but I applied on August 1st. It's now the 25th. What the hell? And I have to do a bunch of stuff so that we can move out of the motel in a couple of days. Hopefully a miracle will come through and we won't have to, but I have no gas and no money. And no money to buy gas. And nobody could give me money for gas. So I'm like, and then my sister's screaming at me because she wants to do stuff, and I tell her flat out, I have no gas to do that. Well, I'm not giving you gas money. I said, I didn't ask you to give me gas money, but I can't do what you need me to do without gas. So I'm trying to round up some money for gas, but it has not been easy. Especially since, I mean, it's a crappy time and nobody has any money. And then to have to, feel bad for not being able to help me is like, no, don't feel bad. I understand everybody's life sucks right now, but anyway, rant aside. It is Garbogust, and I have read actually one was good and the other one was not good. 2 novellas this week, and both of them were titled Callie's Web. So the first one I picked up because I've been following the author Mark Matthews, who is Michigan-based, and so the book is set in Detroit, although it's not really clear that it's Detroit until close to the end. And he has done a number of anthologies that are based around horror stories that are related to addiction. So that's kind of his little niche. A lot of his stories revolve around drug addiction, and this one is no exception. So the story is about Callie's Web. It's about a young woman named Calliana Cook. Yeah. And she's a drug addict. She was born to a drug addict, and when her mother passed away, she and her sister were kind of sent on their way, and they both became drug addicts. And then her sister had a kid, and when her sister also died of a drug overdose, because once you get into that lifestyle, there's probably not a whole lot of the further in you get, the more unlikely it is you're going to get out, right? So Callie ended up going to jail, and then when she got out, she went to collect her sister's kid, and she's got all these conditions on her probation and parole, and as it is, and it was and her parole officer is a real piece of work. He believes he's doing God's work by keeping the evil people off the streets, and so there's no room for nuance. But he has a secret. He has a daughter who is not exactly what you would expect in a child. So Callie says, hey, he's gonna keep my daughter away from me. Niece, but daughter. Well, I'm gonna go get his daughter away from him. So she goes and kidnaps his daughter, and he has to go and get the daughter back because every year on her birthday, some really bad things happen. And I can't tell you too much more about the plot without giving more spoilers than already. But I think the stuff that I've spoiled is really more kind of the setup for the second and thirds of the book. It was well written. It had some really good nasty scenes. The spider imagery was pretty cool. And I'm not overly familiar with Les Miserables, but there's an afterword where the author talks about how in some ways it's the central relationship between Callie and the parole officer is a sort of a reimagining of Jean Valjean and Javert from Les Miserables. So I thought that was like a really interesting it adds an interesting depth to the character. So you have one character who, by perception, is a criminal, and according to the law is a criminal, but there's a lot of nuance there. There's sickness, there's family history, there's financial problems, there's, you know, there's all of the things that go along with drug addiction. And then there's the other side of it, which is you have a parole officer who just thinks that all drug addicts are, you know, they need to be obliterated, and that is a pretty pervasive belief in our society, especially in North America. In Europe, they believe that, you know, in Europe they have, in a lot of places, they have a more, and also places where there's socialized healthcare, they treat drug addiction as an illness. They treat them. They don't criminalize them. And they actually, the drugs that are legal, they use the funds from those to fund treating worse drug addiction so that people can actually get help. And yeah. So yeah, it was a good read. I'm gonna give it 4.5 stars because lay and lie. Excuse me. Almost every case where it was supposed to be lie used lay. I don't know who the hell edited it. Actually, I have an idea who edited it, and I don't want to disparage him because he's a pretty cool guy. But lay versus lie, I mean, almost to the point where the book was written, the book as published was written in the first person present tense. And the fact that lay was mistakenly used so many times almost made me believe that it had been converted over from from past tense, either first person or third person. And that can sometimes happen. You can miss those things when you're doing that. I've done that before. I've gone, okay, this would sound better in present tense, but yeah. Anyway, so that's just my pet peeve. And I even the reason I picked it up was that there was a post about it in the horror writers group on Facebook, and I said, yeah, great read, but lay and lie, damn it. And I posted a little link to Grammar Girl, who is the go-to, and I got a comment from somebody else that he immediately controlled his entire manuscript for it. So at least it helped one author not make that annoying mistake. So anyway, Callie's Web by Mark Matthews, really good read, highly recommend it. It's only 114 pages and it's on Kindle Limited, so it's pretty good value. Now the other story that I read is also called Callie's Web, and I think the author's name is something like Kurhu, and I'm 99% sure it was AI written. So it's about this guy named Vikrant, who is a hacker, and he goes into the woods and he gets a hacking secret, and then he sneaks into a corporation as a member of their IT team, and then he downloads all of their secrets, and then he sets free a virus, and then he runs away while the chaos happens. And then he uses that information to bring down everything. But the problem is that the problem with the story, it sounds kind of like an interesting premise, right? But the way that it's written is very telling, tell don't show, and literally, I mean, if I were telling you about what happens rather than writing the scene to create suspense, this is how it would sound. Excuse me. And the other thing that makes me think it's AI is the last few paragraphs repeat again and again. So the person who self-published it didn't edit it. So I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5. It was not good, but I'm sure it kind of hits a bingo square. And it was an attempt at cyberpunk, and I like the names, and the premise could have been something interesting. And the writing wasn't even actually that bad for AI. It just didn't create any mystery. It didn't create any suspense. It wasn't a very good or well-told story. So, I guess that's about it. Now, so second week was, what was it supposed to be? Shock value. And that was another reason I picked up Callie's Web, is that it was published by Crystal Lake's new subdivision, which is supposed to be kind of more extreme horror. And then this week is supposed to be cozy. And I do have a cozy book, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it read before the end of the month. Because, I mean, it's the 25th. We've got, not quite a week left of Garb August. And then the last week is apocalyptic, and I have something ridiculous rounded up for that as well. So I think that'll be everything. I went live once this week just to see what was going on, and I did a dramatic reading of Edgar Allan Poe's Telltale Heart. So if you want to check that out, it's elsewhere on the channel. And other than that, wish me luck in the next few days. I'm going to need it. I hope you're reading lots of horror. Have a great day.